So you've probably heard from the latest fitness guru that you have got to hit your protein goals. I don't know about you, but I spend most of my life thinking about protein. And now your breakfast probably looks like 44 eggs, bacon, lunches, loads of chicken breast. Post-workout involves a massive protein shake, and there is probably a bucket of Greek yogurt in there somewhere. Suddenly, you are consuming 300 grams of protein a day, spending loads of money, or maybe you've completely dismissed protein, believing that it's just for bodybuilders and not runners because we talk about carbs all the time, right? The truth is that it lies somewhere in between. And in this video, I am going to help you figure out when protein powders make sense, when they might be a waste of money, and when they might even harm your health. So before we dive into the science, my name is Nick. I am a UK Athletics US certified running coach. I'm also a performance nutrition coach. I'm also the author of 2 books on Amazon. After spending lots of my life in hospitality and loving food, I have designed these 2 brilliant books that will help you to get the food that you need. First things first, how much protein do you actually need? Research indicates that endurance athletes need anywhere between around about 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. That was cited in a study by Phillips and Van Loon back in 2011, and there's been plenty more since. For example, before I put that up, so 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight per day. So for me, I weigh about 80-ish kilos. So let's call it around about 80. So that for me means that I'm hitting round about 130 grams of protein per day to support my training and recovery. So what are the pros and cons of protein powder? Some of the pros, certainly convenience and ease of use, especially after workouts when quick digestion aids recovery. They are effective in supporting muscle recovery and reducing muscle soreness post-exercise. They are beneficial for busy individuals that might be struggling with meal prep and getting adequate protein intake. Some of the cons, they can be pricey per serving compared to whole food protein sources. The cost of protein powders has gone up dramatically in the last few years, since COVID specifically. Some products contain additives, artificial sweeteners, fillers, which can negatively affect gut health and even cause discomfort when you're out there running. Over-reliance on protein powders can lead to insufficient consumption of other nutrients, your micronutrients, your vitamins, your minerals that are provided by whole foods. Well, studies do confirm that protein supplementation can significantly enhance muscle protein synthesis, as long as you're getting a dose of around about a minimum of 20 grams of protein per serving. And it can aid recovery post-exercise, particularly after an intense or prolonged endurance training session, so your speed work, your long runs, that kind of stuff. However, additional supplementation is unlikely beneficial if your protein needs are already met through diet alone. And it is quite easy to do that. So let's talk about whole foods versus powders. Optimal whole food protein sources include animal-based proteins like eggs, salmon, chicken, turkey, beef, tuna, lamb, although a little fatty. Dairy products such as Greek yogurt, cottage cheese is particularly good, particularly at the end of the day because it contains a lot of casein protein, which is much slower releasing. Plant-based proteins, whilst they are less bioavailable, and I'm sorry for the vegans that out there that will argue back at this, doesn't matter what game changers say. Unfortunately, plant-based proteins are not as bioavailable or as complete in proteins. However, if you do eat a wide range of vegetables, such as pulses, legumes, lentils, tofu, tempeh, seitan, all that kind of stuff, then you will get the entire branch chain amino acid complex into your diet. But if you focus too much on any one of those, then you're not going to get the full BCA complex to make it complete protein sources, whereas animal proteins are much more bioavailable and are complete protein sources. Okay, so what are the big differences between whole and powders? So we're talking about whole foods, so they provide comprehensive nutritional profiles. You're going to be getting your essential minerals, your essential vitamins, your healthy fats are going to be included in there as well. Fiber, antioxidants, all of that is really important for your overall health and athletic performance. Gut health, I've talked about it in previous videos. It's super important, and you're going to get that from whole food sources. When could you use protein powders? Because they don't contain all of the micronutrients that we are going to be needing for our diet. Protein powders make sense if you're frequently unable to meet your daily protein targets through whole foods alone. For example, a vegetarian might be the kind of person that is going to benefit from as a supplementation, because a vegetarian, whilst maybe eating eggs and some dairy, might not, and I know quite a few, might not get enough protein simply through their diet. So they do supplement it with, maybe have a protein shake. They might stick an extra scoop of protein powder in a bowl of yogurt, which is a really easy way of getting quite a big hit of protein in one go. You go from sticking a 30-gram scoop of protein powder, and you're going to be getting yourself 40, 50 grams of protein straight off the bat. So a really good way of topping up your protein intake for the day. Another person that's going to benefit from this is if you have a really hectic schedule with limited time for meal prep. Perhaps you're dashing between meetings at work. You could barely get up from the desk because of work, that kind of thing. That's going to be a really helpful way for you to get additional protein, is if you are, quite frankly, busy, super convenient, whack it in a protein shaker, or even buy it ready-made, and that's going to really help you. Another person that's going to benefit from things like protein powders and protein supplementation is if you require convenient, rapid protein absorption immediately after training sessions to kickstart that muscle protein synthesis, that muscle repair. So straight after you've done a speed session, for example. Now, the anabolic window that you might have heard of, where you urgently need to get protein into your system within 20 minutes, otherwise all of your hard work is for nothing, is totally untrue. What studies now show is that if we are getting enough protein over the course of the day, going back to our point here, around 1 to 2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, as long as you are getting that throughout the day, then you are going to be golden. However, let's take advantage of that feeding window, particularly with carbohydrates. So if you are supplementing with protein and carbohydrates straight after a session, then you are going to be in a really good place. And if you need that convenience of getting in and you don't want to spend ages making a meal, having protein supplementation straight after a session is going to be very, very helpful for you. And then you can get on, go and have your shower, go and get yourself sorted, and then you can come down and make yourself a really good, nutritious, complete meal to keep going with the rest of your day. So, which protein powders are best that are going to help you to achieve this 1.2 to 1.6 grams per day if you're not getting it all through whole food sources? So consider these factors. First of all, minimal ingredient list. If your product that you have picked up has a whole bunch of unnecessary additives and fillers, then and sugar, particularly aspartame, all of those sweeteners, that kind of stuff, then you are probably going to want to avoid that kind of thing. In fact, there have been some studies showing that some of these protein products out there that contain these fillers, the fillers actually blunt the absorption of some of the protein. So it's really worth looking at things like a whey isolate product where it is pretty much pure protein powder. So whey isolate, I just mentioned, that is going to be optimal for absorption post-exercise. It's supported by research as highly effective in muscle recovery and muscle protein synthesis. Of course, not everybody is going to be able to have whey products. You know, whether you are vegan or you have certain food allergies, something that you need to be thinking about is plant-based alternatives. So you could have plant-based alternatives, and there are some really good products out there now. Protein Works is one that I particularly like. I actually have a discount code with them, Nick Run, if you want to use that on their website. The vegan Wonder Shake is fantastic. It mixes really well. Some protein powders can be vegan protein powders, but plant-based protein powders can be very, very chalky. So something like that, where it mixes really well, is going to be super helpful for you. All right. So those plant-based alternatives, you could have things like pea, soy, brown rice. There's all kinds. Ideally, you probably, going back to my points around bioavailability, certain proteins are going to be missing certain branched chain amino acids. So if you can get something that probably has a mix of plant-based ingredients, then plant-based proteins, then you are going to be looking to get something like that to serve your protein needs. Particularly if you're vegan, lactose intolerant, or sensitive to dairy, those are going to be really helpful for you. Something else to look out for is always select brands that have been tested by a third party. Brands that are tested by a third party organisations such as Informed Sport, or in the US it's the National Sports Supplement Safety or something like that. They are going to be testing them for purity. They're going to be testing them for quality assurance, actually testing to see if they actually do contain the ingredients that they have. So these are some of the things that I'd be looking for in my protein powders. So lastly, why do runners need to be thinking about protein? We're not bodybuilders. We're not, needing to grow our muscles. No, but there have been plenty of studies that have shown that that supplementation with protein, or at least hitting your protein target per day, it does really help you to adapt and recover from all that training that you're doing. We're out there for a lot longer than is prescribed from a government recommendations of exercise. We're not just doing day-to-day exercise of 10,000 steps or whatever it is. Some of us are out there doing massive mileage, and muscle breakdown is a huge thing for us, particularly ultra runners, that are out there for long periods of time. Having that additional protein is going to help you to recover better, to get stronger, to adapt better to your training, and it is going to serve you in keeping you injury-free as well. All right. So there you go, folks. If you enjoyed that, if that was helpful to you, please hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications and all of that stuff. And if you want a personalized running plan, check the link below to message me on Instagram, check out my other content. Just keep training smart, and I will see you in the next one.